Paul George.
What are the chances that Kuminga, Moody, TJD, and Pods are all on this team to start the season?
Pretty good. But if a big trade happened, I think at least one of them's in it. And I think Moody was relatively available at the deadline. They were looking to make smaller moves at the deadline. They were trying to get in on Caruso. I think it's possible Moody might have moved in that deal. It's interesting because I think they probably value and covet the future of Podziemski and Trayce Jackson-Davis more right now than maybe the market, the market thirst for them would be.
They're
right?
higher on them than others.
Yeah, I think, if a Jimmy Butler trade materialized, Miami did love Podziemski at the draft. I think
Tyler Hero and Podziemski.
And the Warriors love Jaime Jaquez, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, they have Caleb Martin could be on the move. As an example, they've got a lot of weird pieces in Miami.
If there's just a monster move that they feel really vaults them into really legitimately back in the mix, and the stickling point is one of their younger guys, particularly the non-Kuminga group, I guess we could say.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll probably relent on that. You can't just protect everything.
Is Kuminga untradeable? Is he untouchable for the Golden State Warriors? Or could he be had in the right move? Because I keep going back to the Clippers and Paul George. I'm like, man, if the Clippers, I know they don't have a lot of juice in this. I know Paul George holds all the cards, but damn, if I'm the Clippers, I'm thinking I can't even get Kuminga out of this guy. That's okay.
But what if you're Paul? Kuminga was the sticking point. We just can't do this trade. And he goes, all right, well, I'm opting out.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. But it leads me to is Kuminga untouchable? Because I still think highly of Kuminga. I do.
Yeah, you should. He's a good player. The league thinks highly enough of Kuminga that there's a reason extension talks might get a little tricky because I think if he goes to restricted free agency, literally this time next year, he might be a restricted free agent. That the league could show you how highly
what's his value today? Because they have to make a decision by October 21st, give or take.
Yeah,
on an extension, 30.
Those talks won't even happen.
Get $55 million was wow.
Yeah, look, I think we're talking at least the a 9-figure type multi-year deal, right? In the 100 something, X years for $100 million, 4 years for $100+ million. That'll be a varying. We'll see where that goes, and negotiations matter. It's what happened to Poole. Poole's market rose. Poole's market rose a lot because it's interesting you mentioned Scotty Barnes. When Tyler Hero signed that deal, I was actually in Japan around the Warriors at the time, and I remember them being like, "Ooh, that Hero deal," that really took a lot of their leverage away. Because it's just at the time, Poole had just helped them win a title. At that point, I think Poole's reputation and upside because of what he meant to a winning environment was you got to go over Tyler Hero for him. Mm-hmm. And they did go over Tyler Hero for him.
Do they view the Kuminga situation dramatically different? Or I guess, I
think they'll be more careful.
That's okay. Because I'm discerning, and we've had this discussion. I'm look, I want to keep Kuminga, but wow, extending him at $30 million after what just happened with Jordan Poole. And there's so many reasons why, I would be a little worried. Yeah, I just would. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it. I'm just saying I'm reluctant.
It's always a worry with a young player, right? It's always a worry. He had the knee tendonitis and he missed some time late in the season. But on the flip side, I think about it like this. Boy, if I got him at $30 million a year, that could be a huge bargain in 2 years. Having Jonathan Kuminga at 30 a year.
With the Barnes deal. I don't know. And the cap going bigger next year. I don't know
There's a
what
lot
the
of things
projection
going
is.
on now. I think what matters, and again, those talks won't happen until
they figure
what their roster looks like in a couple weeks. They don't know what their roster is going to look like, and not only their roster, but their future money commitments. Right? Mm-hmm. If Paul George theoretically came in, and if he came in, it would very likely be with that 4 for $221. Suddenly they're a little bit more handcuffed long term financially.
What about Steph getting an extension? Does that give them any? All Steph extensions, because he is extension eligible this offseason. Is that even on the table? Is that something they're just going to wait and go through? Does it give him any relief down the
I think it'll at least be thought about a little later in the summer. Again, I think there's so many dominoes here, and where this franchise is going, and what's Steph's interest in necessarily locking up long term. Now it gets him another year of insane money, but also, he just like we reported with De'Aaron Fox in Sacramento a little bit, you as a player still want to hold a little bit of a leverage card over a team where, if Steph theoretically signed an extension and then the Warriors get through the next few weeks and they just didn't find a trade they liked, and they're like, we want to protect the picks, we want to protect the youth. Yeah, we might be the 9th seed again next year. We want to get out of the tax.
Right.
We want to get out of the tax entirely. It just seems like that reset. Then, Steph would have lost a little bit of his leverage. It's a leverage league, so
no doubt.
I think a Steph extension may get talked about later when. A lot of dust just needs to settle clear over the next few weeks.
Because he's got 2 left, and then he can get 3 more. Again, the whole... Because I'm reading
there's
about
the
this
over 38 rule.
Yes.
So, again, gosh, so many...
The rules are unreal.
Well, they're changing, too.
Yeah,
That's
they're unreal.
Right. It's a math equation. You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMG, FM, and HG1 San Francisco, and Odyssey Sports Station. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Don't forget that you can also watch us every single day on our YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter streams. Brought to you by First NorCal Credit Union. For a low-rate auto loan, apply online or just ask for First NorCal financing at the dealer. Anthony Slater, live in studio here on the Morning Roast. He'll be here for the next hour. He's been here for an hour already, breaking down the Golden State Warriors offseason here. And I want to get back to this. I want to get back to Kuminga because we were talking about Klay Thompson earlier in their relationships with the coaching staff and the players or whatnot. Now, we know Kuminga. He's gone to the media not once, not twice, but 3 times. And the last time he went to the media...
Where'd you read about that?
The Athletic, baby. Anthony Slater says, Sharadi, baby, let's go. Anthony Slater, breaking news. Aggregate that one.
It's really the only publication I read outside of 957thegame.com.
You lie. He just asked me for my Sporty Green password last. No, I'm kidding.
I've hit my limit on SF Gate, click-ons.
Yeah. Well, they like to aggregate their own things on this show. I got a problem with Alexander Simon, the editor at SF Gate.
They had a post yesterday, real quick, about the hottest cocktail bar in San Francisco that I had never heard of.
Oh, yeah.
That only serves non-alcoholic drinks. Newsflash, whoever the moron is that just got here from wherever, writing for the Chronicle, no one's ever heard of that bar.
Believe that one alone.
No, I'll tell that to their face. The Chronicle used to be respected.
I'm hitting the off button on my mic.
Yeah, I'm going to leave that alone. I still subscribe to the Chronicle.
I'm telling you, I said it.
The Chronicle's my hometown paper. I read the Athletic first in the Chronicle. I got love for the Chronicle.
Don't get me started on food reviews.
Kuminga's relationship. How's his relationship with Steve Kerr? Has it been repaired? How's he feel his standing is with the Golden State Warriors? Does he feel like he's in good standing with the ownership group, with the team, with the players? How's he feel right now? Because there was a lot of drama with Kuminga early on in the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kuminga's desire at that point was very easy to understand. It was I believe I am a 30-plus minute per game player in the NBA. I believe I'm good enough for that at this point. And, even if there was arguments year 1, year 2, he hadn't got there. I think by year 3, it was pretty clear, I don't know, this guy can help winning. He does stuff that this team didn't have, right? Downhill, led the team in paint, points, dunks. Mm-hmm. Didn't he have the most dunks for the franchise for a season? There was just stuff he did that you need on the floor. And then obviously it came to a head and when he got benched for the last 18 minutes of that Nuggets game that ended with the Jokic bank. And then, we come out with the report the next day in the middle of a back-to-back. That was what I remember. The crazy part of that time. And that day, they had, Kuminga and Steve had a meeting in the office that, Kuminga was very honest about afterwards. And I think admitted that maybe he wasn't as great as the communication. I think Steve, in a kind of winding way, admitted maybe that conversation needed to happen earlier. And then I believe Kuminga went out that night it was career high in minutes the next game, and then he was starting. And I do think the relationship you use as the relationship repaired. I think the big thing is he's playing more. That's all. It wasn't some deep personal back and forth this or that. It was just play me.
Yep.
But at the expense of who? And I think that was and at what position and at what times.
And we should get to that. But I think at the time, it was also very important for him because he's extension eligible this summer. There's a lot of money on the line for him now and into the future. So as we look towards the future, 2 things. Number one, playing time next year will matter. But also, Steve said it in his post-game, in his exit interview. He doesn't think Kuminga at this stage has shown he's a small forward, which may sound like a small comment, but I think it's massive as we talk about lineup combinations and the way they refit this roster next year. Because late in the season, Kuminga gets the knee tendonitis. Yes, that happened. What also happened is Trayce Jackson-Davis stepped into the starting lineup. They were much better defensively with Trayce and Draymond. Draymond would have quotes about how he loves having a backline center so he can play free safety. He's not the rim protector. And by the Kings game, by late in the season, they were bringing Kuminga off the bench. Now, still playing good minutes, but if you're going into next season with Kuminga, Wiggins, Draymond, Trayce, like there's the minute pie is kind of getting crowded there.
I don't love the spacing with Draymond and TJD and Kuminga on the floor together. If you don't have the spacing of the shooting, the lane gets clogged. Yep. I mean, really, the only exciting part of that game was the 3 consecutive buckets. I'm talking about the playing game for Kuminga. That was it. That was literally the most exciting part of the game. And he's a guy that gets to the free throw line on a team that doesn't get to the free throw line a whole lot.
Where's he at defensively, in your opinion, JK?
I think he has a lot of tools defensively, and I think there are moments in games, especially I would say even his first couple of years, where like I can remember they're like, "Hey, guard LaMelo Ball for this game," and he was like, "Yeah, lock into that assignment." I think if he's hounding you on ball and he's like really into the possession, he's difficult to get by and score on. He's great laterally, long, athletic, competitive, especially in like a one-on-one setting. Mm-hmm. He has his team defensive issues, rotation issues. I think.
Awareness off ball is a problem.
Yeah, and just like desire on a possession by possession basis to like make sure the team defense is as good as it can be. It's like he loves to block a shot. He loves to lock a guy up. Yep. And remember Jordan Clarkson when he locked him up and got Clarkson so mad. Clarkson was like,
Carson's ready to fight. He squared up on him.
Like he can do a lot of that stuff, which they need. By the way, they need point of attack, good defense, but defensive rating with a player on the floor matters in the sense of like it's what they like about Podziemski, right? It's just like it's like assignment stuff. Although they say Podziemski gambles too much, but
he has poor lateral movements. One comes flying up sometimes.
One of the things with Kuminga, I'd say over the long term, is like Kuminga, like really, and I think it's understandable considering the skill set he not only possesses, but I think can grow into. Like he wants to be like a star wing scorer.
So what does Curve view him as then? Because you said
a 4 right now.
A power forward, and like Kuminga's trying to, I think, get to the point where like by year 5, year 6, year 7, you're talking all-star.
So how do they navigate that next year in terms of a starting lineup if Draymond's going to be your 4 alongside TJD?
It's a great question, and it's going to depend on how the roster.
It's how the roster fits. Like we don't know what the roster is going to look like in a couple weeks.
Wouldn't you imagine, like theoretically, you would view Kuminga as like, if Wiggins is gone this summer, like Kuminga's your starting 3, right? You would just see him. Yeah, that's a starting spot.
Or if it's Paul George.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe it's Paul George and he's at the 4, but Draymond at the small ball 5, something that maybe is not sustainable.
That's why suddenly Wiggins and Kuminga worked all of a sudden last year. Why did it happen? Because Draymond stepped in and was the center. But, there's also an argument, and Draymond might make it at times defensively, that he doesn't want to just be the small ball center. He loved playing with Andrew Bogut. Mm-hmm. He loved having Zaza Pachulia
he likes
behind
to be the help
him.
Defender.
Yeah, and just like he says it, and especially the last couple seasons dealing with the back, it's like when I'm guarding the center, and like Jonas Valanciunas is trying to get every single offensive rebound, and I just got to step in and my job is to box Jonas Valanciunas out for a quarter. It's like that's a little bit taxing.
All right, real quick, 2 quick ones before we hit the break.
And line them up, 888-957-9570. Ask Slater anything Warrior related.
Ask him anything. 888-957-9570. All about the Warriors right now with Anthony Slater and the NBA. If you got an NBA question, ask Slates. He's tapped in, but more so on the Warriors. The Warriors Twitter account at 9 o'clock just tweeted out the Kings. Yeah, the Warriors Twitter account, Golden State Warriors, it's at Warriors, just tweeted out a big statement coming soon with eyes emoji. So I don't know what they're doing. Whatever they're teasing the fan base, but a big statement coming soon. That's
Rick
from the
Barry
Golden State Warriors.
statue doing the underhand, free throw.
Maybe that. But 2, if you do acquire Paul George,
uniform.
Who's the best fit with Paul George? Would it be Andrew Wiggins or would it be JK?
Let me just say that even if a Paul George trade were to happen or any big trade were to happen, not only would it not be hinted at, in my opinion, by the Warriors Twitter account because of tampering rules, number one, and also just like
this is uniform statute related.
This is something
the legal rules of the league.
We're having a hot dog
They literally
contest.
wouldn't even be able to acknowledge it until like July 6th.
Exactly.
I mean, I know it's just more so getting the fans like big statement. Yeah. What's going on? It's like, hey fans, it's not a trade. Trust me, it's not that. We'll get that from Slater or Shams or Woj or whatnot. But I do wonder about the fit. Wiggins. Do you think Wiggins is just basically done here? That they're actively trying to get no. There's an avenue for him to be back next season.
Sure. Yeah. If they don't like what they have now, like could he be moved? Sure. Yeah, he could. But like, I don't like done is no, I don't.
I'm done.
Okay, that's fine. You know,
You're not Mike Dunleavy.
Well, I'm just telling you, like, me and a lot of the film, we're done.
But
we're
then
done.
what if he does come back and they have to trade Kuminga for Paul George?
You're also dumb, but you know if he shoots like 40% from three and like guards well and looks like in shape and motivated in the first month.
It's a lot of ifs.
But you know, Mr. Jorge Soler is the GOAT this summer. Like new information could change your mind.
Yeah, it could change your mind. You'll pivot.
The fact that they
Were you done in
squeezed
the
a Cody
22
Ross
player?
run out of him, I'm shocked that it happened.
Yeah.
Oh
I'm thankful from what Wiggins gave, but the hollow invisible man is going to go invisible again at some point. Like, I know it's coming.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's fair. Like his contract's actually not that bad. But it's also like when they signed it, it was viewed as like incredibly team friendly. Obviously, that has changed.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, again, I think for the right move for the right return, he certainly would be available this summer. They talked about him plenty last season leading up to the deadline, but also I don't think they're like, oh, we got to get off his.
No, but do the
contract.
players do the players trust him to like be ready to go all year this year?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, you kind of like have to if he's on the team. I don't know. Like, there's no like demand that he has to be gone. I mean, like, he is still at the start of a big game next season, depending on who they bring in. Paul George could change this, but like, let's say, they have relatively the same roster next year and they play the Mavericks on opening night. He's guarding Luka. He's guarding Luka most of the game. He's guarding Luka for 36 minutes. He's their best option on Luka. He was great on Luka in that playoff run. Again, I know that playoff run is not indicative of what you can expect moving forward, but like, if he's suddenly just off the roster for not a good return, you lose your best individual defender.
We agree with.
As point of attack. Yeah,
that
you're
we
right.
agree with. But
And
I'm just saying,
he's
like,
making $26 million next year. That's really not that bad.
A lot of people think that's a bargain too. And then Warriors thought it was a big time bargain, considering what other players around the league got paid. So I'm kind of with you there.
You
Slates.
do need a lot more from him to go to get back to the next level. For sure. And I understand anybody who's like not trusting you're going to get that. But I'm just saying they're not just like, oh my gosh, we have to get off.
Anthony Slater live in studio. This has been a lot of fun. That hour flew by. We got about 40 minutes left with Slates here on the Morning Rustlers. Line them up. I see your calls right now. 888-957-9570 is the number. Ask Anthony Slater anything Warriors related. If you want to sneak in another NBA call, that's fine too. But Anthony Slater's live in studio to answer the questions as we break down this offseason.
Yeah, I'm excited. The guy knows more than anybody about these topics. And I'm getting some great feedback about my suggestion, the Rick Barry statue. Scooter is saying that that's the best part of this entire hour and a half.
Oh, yeah. Scooter Barry. Shout out to Scooter Barry. Yeah, the Rick Barry statue should have been up. You're a big statue guy, but that didn't come up at some point.
I want that statue.
It'll come up at some point. Come on. Rick Barry should have a statue.
Can you do a statue of a current player? Like, could they do a Steph Curry statue?
So, for example, I actually think that there are certain players that, like Derek Jeter, I thought could have had a statue while he was playing.
LeBron
Steph absolutely can have one while he's playing.
Yeah. Get the statues up. They got the little walk with the plaques right there. Rick Barry's 24, Chris Mullin, Nate Thurman, all that. But yeah, statue